nom, nom, nom.
Good morning, Sac City. Welcome into another episode of the Sac City Podcast. I am your host, the one and only Vinny Milani, joined as always by my best friend in the whole entire world. He is Aaron, the Mukesiah Mukes. And below us we have your boy, AJ Johnson. It is a beautiful August 9th morning here in the city. Episode 64 is about to kick off. And really, guys, this is the real deal. Like, this is it. Like, all of our other shows were fun. They were great. They were entertaining. They were informative. They were everything. They were great. But not as great as what we're about to really get into, because the season is right around the corner. Preseason has already started with the Jaguars and the Raiders. If you missed our coverage on that game, go check it out on YouTube right now. But we're getting into our team-by-team previews starting tonight with the Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks. And really, this just starts a whole new regime of a Sac City podcast, a podcast that really no one has ever seen before. We have not had a full season of Sac City Pod, and it's about to get crazy. AJ, how are you doing this morning?
Doing fantastic. It's lovely to be back here with you fellas, talking our wonderful favorite sport of football. I like what we're kicking it off with this week one matchup. That's pretty. What's that word? When you're really waiting on something, you can't. It's around the corner. You can't get there. So you know how it goes, Vinny. Words are hard. Like
the anticipation.
Maybe. I mean, that's a good one. That's not the word I was looking for. It counts. It works. But I'm excited for it. It's week one. It's a matchup we've all been waiting for. The suspense is killing me. I can't wait to get there. So
you're on the edge of your seat. You're on your toes.
I literally am on both of those. So, but either way, I like where this is going. I think we're gonna still be informative, still be fun, still be energetic. All those things you said we were before it got to the real deal. Now it's just a real deal plus all that extra stuff. So, buckle up, guys. It's about to get real in this mother.
Harder hitting is really what it's. Harder hitting is what we're really going for. The Sac City
I have
podcast.
Been watching some baseball.
Oh, gross. Gross. Why would you do such a thing? Okay. All right. All right. Well, let's like I said, we're going to go get into the Broncos and the Seahawks. Excuse me, the Broncos and the Seahawks in just a few moments and their team previews. But first,
can we give a little bit of a background as to what we're doing here over the next 30 something days?
By all means, sir, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so, you bring up the Seahawks and the Broncos, and everybody's like, well, why'd you pick these two teams? Well, it's simple. Look, week one is right around the corner. We got about a month, like AJ said. So what we are going to do is we are going to go each day we are on the air outside of our fantasy show. We're going to break down two teams, and these two teams are going to be in-depth. We're going to go offense, defense. We're going to talk about schedules. We're going to talk about what we're looking forward to this year. We're going to give you some rankings. And we are going to break down two teams every show until we get to week one. And we are going based upon the week one matchup in reverse order. So we're starting with the Monday Night Football matchup in week one. And we will go all the way back with the fall matchup between the Bills and the Rams, week one, Thursday night, which will happen a few days before that game. So there's going to be a lot of content coming over the next few weeks. And it's going to be in-depth analysis like the fellas mentioned. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're excited for that. And just, if you're looking for a specific team, just understand we are going in reverse order from the games of week one. So your team will get in there. We promise you we will touch all 32 teams over the next, 30 days or so.
Yeah, and with those team previews, we're going to be diving into everything with it, including record predictions. And I got a little game for you guys. on some odds and some props. We'll also be slowly unveiling our 32 team preseason rankings. I'm sure we'll get a lot of people that don't like that, our assessments, and some people might actually enjoy our assessments. But let us know in the comments section below how you feel about that. Let's get into our morning headlines, now presented by Manscaped Body Wash. Get your Manscaped Body Wash today by heading over to manscaped.com. Get their ultra premium body wash that's infused with aloe vera and sea salt to keep your skin feeling clean and fresh. AJ, what is that? What is it that we say? So fresh and so clean. Is that how it goes? Is that how we can say it?
Clean.
There it is. Get your Manscaped. Get your Manscaped body wash today and keep yourself feeling fresh and clean. It's time for our morning headlines. And first, we get into Kareem Hunt asking for a trade from the Cleveland Browns. He wants out. And actually, the Cleveland Browns did exactly what they did to Baker Mayfield and said no. So Kareem Hunt asks for a trade. Cleveland says no. Aaron, where does Kareem Hunt land? Does anybody trade for him? What are your thoughts on this trade request?
I don't really understand it. If I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm pretty upset, to be honest. We're talking about a guy who was out of the league. Who gave him a chance to come back in the league and play? It was the Cleveland Browns. And then they signed him to an extension, and he got paid again with the Cleveland Browns. And now he's looking for more money. And again, don't get me wrong. I understand it's 27-year-old running back. He wants to get paid again. He's in the final year of his deal. But for him to do it now, all offseason, he could have said, hey, I want a new contract. To wait until now to come out and say, hey, I want a new contract and I'm not going to come to any, that's a little bit of bad timing there. But look, Kareem Hunt's a valuable asset to that offense. We're talking about a guy that's been a leading rusher in the NFL. He was the number one back on Kansas City as a rookie, then comes to Cleveland and kind of filled a role of the pass catching back behind a Nick Chubb, or when Nick Chubb goes out, he's been able to kind of fill in for him. But I'll tell you what, if I'm Cleveland, I say no too. Kareem Hunt has no leverage here. You have Nick Chubb on your roster and a very good backup in Dearness Johnson. And Kareem Hunt is a free agent next year. So if he wants to sit out the entire year, by all means, good luck to you, sir.
But Aaron, what about how hurtful that is to Kareem Hunt? They did the same thing to Baker Mayfield. It was so hurtful. How could you deny that kind of request? What about the players, man?
Then tell the players to stop signing these contracts that they want to get out of 2 years later or a year later. Let's be honest. I am perfectly fine with a player who outperforms his contract coming in and saying, you know what, I think I deserve a little bit more money. We would all do it. Ask for a raise when you feel like you deserve a raise. Has Kareem Hunt really done that? Has he really outperformed $6 million a year at the running back position, which is way more than most backup running backs get paid? I don't think he's outperformed anything. And he's going into the final year of his deal. He should play out his contract, go sign somewhere else if he doesn't like what they're paying him, and then move on. Or sit the bench, or sit down and don't play. I don't care. But I'm so tired of these players signing a contract and then not honoring that contract because they feel like they're worth more money when the numbers actually say they're not.
But Aaron, hey, buddy, guy, he's been hurt, but in his full season of health, he actually did good. He did good. He's just been hurt.
What does did good mean?
He had 900 yards, right? He's something along those lines.
So 10 touchdowns, led his team. I mean, in touchdowns overall, I think it was 11 actually between rushing and receiving that season. His first full year was good, and then he got hurt last year.
So let me ask you this question. For a team that is paying you like a backup and running you like a 50-50, not quite 50-50, 60-40 starter, and you are putting up the 40% numbers of which they expect, and you're getting paid like that, why do you want a raise? What tells you deserve a raise?
I mean, the NFL.
Let me ask you this question. How much money is Melvin Gordon making this year?
Oh, come on.
Probably, I think, what was it, $8 million, right? Wasn't it 8? 1 year, $8 million, I thought? I definitely could be wrong. This is just what I'm remembering.
I'm looking it up right now.
It's taking you that long? God, I could have found that already.
Buddy, I'm half dying over here. Back off. 1 year, 2.5 million.
Oh, so Melvin Gordon, who almost ran for 1,000 yards last year, is making 2.5 million, and Kareem Hunt's making 6, and he's crying. And they basically play virtually the same exact role in an offense. Get out of here, dude. Go, cry. Bye. Sit the bench. I don't want to hear it.
I don't think that matters, though. I don't think that matters.
What do you mean it doesn't matter?
Hold on. To the players. I mean, I'm sorry.
I get that.
Yeah,
but it doesn't make it right.
But that's what matters to Kareem Hunt, though. If they want to throw Melvin Gordon in my face, they can. But at the same time, if Melvin Gordon didn't want to fight harder for his money, that's on Melvin Gordon. It's not on Kareem Hunt. The same way that these guys wait for the market to be set so then they can ask for their pay to get a higher is the same reason that you don't wait on the guy who goes lower. I'm sorry. If I feel I needed that much money, I'm going to ask for it. And again, with the signing of the contracts, this is what they're instructed to do by their agents. You sign the contract and you get your money because, one, you can always be traded, or two, you can always sign the next deal that comes along. So, I mean, I understand signing the contract when it behooves you, and then, yeah, you hope to outperform. But if you don't, yeah, I mean, I don't mind. Like we said with
AJ, Listen,
step one.
you
request
realize,
the trade and hope for the best.
Do you realize Kareem Hunt is in the top 10 in running back salaries? Top 10. He's a backup, and he's in the top 10. He literally is he is literally the 8th highest paid running back this year.
I mean, hey, well, if you argue he has no leverage, maybe this is a little bit that he can try to get in saying that I want to be paid now, because he's only going to get one big contract after this. Like,
why does he deserve that this season after an injury-plagued season?
I mean, that could be the same thing I was talking about with Deebo Samuel. You know, you were injury plagued. If you can see that value that you had a season ago when you had a full season, you're projecting to be on a full year this year, and you get paid now to play it out.
That you can't. This is what my issue is. It's not that he's asking for more money, just specifically that. It's he's asking for money, but didn't have a Deebo Samuel season. Yeah. His best season on Cleveland was 800 yards, and he had 11 touchdowns. Good job. But he's not a full-time starter. They have a guy, Nick Chubb, who is their go-to running back. So if I'm Cleveland, I'm looking at you ask me for more money, being the 8th highest paid running back on an annual per year basis. I'm like, no. Like, what makes you think I'm going to give you more money when I got a running back that's better than you on my roster, number one, and you're the 8th highest paid running back in the NFL already? It makes zero sense for him to do it right now, except for him trying to protect himself. And I get it. I'm not knocking him for doing it. I'm just saying it's laughable to me to think that Cleveland Browns would actually cave and give it to him. Of course they're not going to give it to him.
I have one little question about this, though. You brought up this point earlier, talking about the why he's doing this at this point. What about the fact that, and I brought this up the other day when we were talking Browns, a new system coming into the Browns offense. Obviously, you argue that it wasn't going to be like a new system. They're just changing quarterbacks. Now they have a more competent quarterback. What if it is a new system, a little bit more of a new system in Cleveland where there's a less of a role for a Kareem Hunt? Maybe he's seeing it during camp and seeing it during these meetings where it's like, oh shit, they're going to use me less this year. And obviously on a 1-year deal or with 1 year remaining, he's like, I'm not going to be able to show my worth at the end of the season because I'm not going to be used that much. So by the time the season ends, I'm going to be like, oh shit, I want to be a very good, very nicely paid running back, but I'm not going to be able to get that because I'm not going to be used in this system that I have now seen at least through camp that, hey, I might not be able to be used like I used to be. What about that?
He's not in camp, right? Or is he in camp?
He's there. He's just sitting out. He started sitting out drills this week.
So I don't really follow the not being used part. I don't know what new offense you're referring to. Deshaun Watson being there means them throwing the ball, which would mean actually he's probably used more, but because he's the pass catching guy. Yeah. But I don't really follow that logic. I would say the fact is Kareem Hunt just doesn't have any leverage right now. He didn't have a season last year that points to Cleveland and says, hey, man, you got to pay this guy. He only had 78 carries last year. So not having the leverage and then also being paid the way he's getting paid now, whether he's used this year or not, Cleveland's like, we don't have to pay you. Because to be honest, Cleveland's probably not going to bring him back next year anyways, because they're not going to want to pay 2 running backs when they're going to have to go ahead and pay Nick Chubb too. So I'm not sure when Nick Chubb's contract is up, but I don't know. I know for sure there's going to be a point in time where he's going to want to get paid, and I believe he already makes $12 million a year. So you're paying $20 million between these guys. Like I don't know. You can't pay that $20 million to a running back position. I mean, that's Zeke makes 15 and people are crying about it, and he runs for 1,000 yards every year. Christian McCaffrey makes 16. I'm not paying Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt $20 million of my salary cap. It's just not happening.
I just want to reiterate the fact that we got to stop hating on the Cleveland Browns front office for these incidents here. They obviously went through the Baker Mayfield stuff where they said, no, we don't want to trade you. And then that was the whole mess. And now Kareem Hunt is doing a similar thing. And they're like, oh, I'm not going to trade you. And the Browns are not the bad person here. Like the Browns are not doing anything wrong. Like they're doing their job. Their job is to make this team better. And if Kareem Hunt doesn't want to play, that's on him. But they're going to want to keep Kareem Hunt because Kareem Hunt's a good player. So if he decides, hey, I want to play, then they still have Kareem Hunt. So we got to just stop with the narrative of the Cleveland Browns are just messing everything up and they're just rude and they're just mean people. Just get over it. Get over it.
Dearness Johnson re-signed there. They like him.
Yeah, exactly.
I know they're perfectly fine because the last year when he came in and played, ran for 150 yards all over the Denver Broncos defense, which was actually pretty good last year. So
yeah,
this Kareem Hunt, I just don't get it. I don't get the timing. He doesn't have the leverage. And I don't see the Cleveland Browns caving on this either. Like they didn't really with Baker Mayfield at first until they said, well, let's just trade him anyways. But maybe you see Kareem Hunt get traded. I just don't know who's going to pay him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. We'll come across that when it actually happens. Let's move on to our other headlines here. Justin Tucker becomes the highest paid kicker in the NFL, signing a 4-year, $24 million deal to stay with the Baltimore Ravens. And AJ, this is honestly for you. I'm going to give you the platform here to speak on the kickers because kickers' lives matter. Justin Tucker becomes the highest paid kicker in the NFL. What are your thoughts on this move?
Man, like you said on social media today, kickers are people too, despite what I've possibly said about kickers in the past. If there was ever a kicker I spoke bad about, Justin Tucker wasn't it. Obviously, Justin Tucker, one of the most decorated kickers in NFL history, deserves a contract, and he gets to stay home with Baltimore, who he's enjoyed playing for year in and year out. We're talking about a supremely accurate guy, always around at least 90% on field goals in such of a year. Holds the longest field goal in NFL history at 66 yards, even if it did decide to hit the bottom of the post and pop in. It was still beautiful. Justin Tucker, I mean, he's the guy. He's the GOAT kicker, if you will. So hats off to him, boots off to him, laces out, whichever one you want to say. And let's see if he can maybe hit a 67-yarder this year. I'd be all about watching that.
Ooh,
that's a man that can ask for a raise.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
He's made 91%.
I mean, Kareem Hunt's a good kicker too.
Wow. Pay him good kicker money. 91% of Justin Tucker's field goals made over the course of his career. You said something about GOAT kicker, and we can start talking about guys like Morton Anderson and Adam Vinatieri. I'm right there with you. Justin Tucker is the greatest kicker I've ever seen, and not because it's just he's good at kicking. He made the kicker position fun. He got swag, confidence. He walks out there every time and tells people, I'm going to make this kick no matter what the circumstances are. And he goes out and he makes it. He's clutch. He's been there. To me, again, if I have to start a team with a kicker, and I know that's weird to say, you give me Justin Tucker any day of the week.
Yeah.
One kick on the line from anywhere on the field in any conditions ever, I'll take Justin Tucker. Simple as that.
My dad drafts Justin Tucker in like the 10th round in every fantasy draft. Just
that's stupid. But I get it.
But that's how Justin Tucker is. He's like guaranteed those points in fan. It's stupid. It's stupid, but it works because he gets those points of like what a wide receiver 2 or 3 would get, or wide receiver 2 or flex position would get in fantasy. It's crazy.
What leagues are you playing?
It's crazy. I digress.
Kickers are fantasy players too, Aaron.
No, they're not in our leagues.
We've got 2 more headlines to go into, and they're really regarding the NFL. And I'm going to switch it over to you, Aaron, regarding this crackdown on illegal contact and what that means for the NFL moving forward.
Oh, boy. Here we go. The NFL, right before the season started, announcing a rule that they're going to crack down on something, and this time it's illegal contact. And another disadvantage for the defense, right? We're already moving towards an offensive league, and now we all hate illegal contact. It's the worst penalty in the world. Guy runs, maybe he goes 7 yards, and you kind of give him a little shove to get him out of his route. Here comes the flag. 5 yards and an automatic first down. And I think that's the part that really bothers me. It's the automatic first down. It could be 3rd and 37, and if you illegal contact somebody 5 yards or 6 yards or 7 yards on a route, it's an automatic first down. And I get it. It's an offensive league. To me, this is just another disadvantage to the defense. It's the NFL saying once again that we don't care if you can play defense or not. We want points scored because we want fantasy football to be prevalent. We want the fans to enjoy it, all the scoring and celebrations, and that's what matters. That's what pays the bills. I'm not a fan of it. Call me an old head or whatever you want to call it. I like the physical game of football. I like when the defense has the same advantages that the offense has and see who's better. And right now, the defensive players in the NFL are such at a huge disadvantage that it's becoming more and more like, and I hate to say this because it's not quite there yet, the arena league style of football where the offensive player gets free releases. They can run where they want to go. And it's just unfair. The defensive player's already at a disadvantage when the play starts because they don't know where you're going. And now you want to give guys running advantage, head starts and can't touch them. And so I don't love it, but I will be interested to see how it is incorporated through the year because we often see this in the regular season. They're throwing flags and then the playoffs come and there's no flags. And the playoff, you know what I mean? They get tight again. It's like the NBA where they blow whistles all year. And then in the playoffs, there's not too many whistles. So unless there's a huge impact that I think changes the game where we're like, it's pretty clear, I think I'll be okay. But I'm not a fan of it. Not a fan.
So last year, officials flagged illegal contact an average of 97 times per season between 2002 and 2020. But that number dropped to 36% last season, or 36 times last season. So obviously, this is, they saw the issue of it, and they're saying, okay, let's focus on that more. And like you said, it's what I feel like every sports league goes through. It's that offense.
I just hate when they say points. Focus on it. Because then it almost tells the fans, we're looking for it now. Not, hey, let's naturally watch the game and officiate the game like we're supposed to. But, hey, I'm going to be watching so closely that if there's any kind of bump, I'm throwing my flag. And to me, I would have rather had them just say, illegal content or illegal contact is something that we need to continue to monitor. But when they say they're going to focus or crack down on it, now I'm like, oh, God, every time it's called, people are going to look to this and say, they told us that they were going to call every one of them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Do you think it's gonna be like where kind of like the turnover rule where they can? This is one of the reviewable penalties. I can't remember if that was how they did illegal because we're not talking about targeting at this point, right? We're talking about 6-7 yards off the line and all of that.
Basically, any contact on a wide receiver after 5 yards. So
that's trash.
That's trash. That's illegal contact.
Because now you're going back to the year where you wanted to talk about pass interference calls, and all you did was offend the judgment of the officials to the point where they weren't even going to keep the calls anyways. So I don't even really see this doing anything but really slowing the game down and then making these calls just when you want to, as a ref, flex your power. It's the same thought as when a player runs by you and their shoulder bumps you and you throw a flag because he made contact with the ref. It's a trash rule. Trash decision.
Yeah, the illegal contact rule I've never been a fan of. I get it. You can't have guys bumping people 20 yards down the field so they can't run a route. I get that.
Right.
But there's illegal contact called in the NFL when you just touch a guy. You just give them a little bit of physical mobility or immobilize them a little bit. And to me, that's just it's a little bit ticky-tack. And I never loved the rule, but I definitely don't like that it's an automatic first down. I think they need to rethink how it's enforced if they're going to do that.
Does the NFL go 2 for 2 with making you guys upset now that Aaron Rodgers and his hallucinogenic drink is now okay with the league? Does that also make you upset?
Oh man, I tell you what, man. Listen, I think every player in the NFL should drink that shit. If it makes you play the way Aaron Rodgers plays, everybody drink that shit because Aaron Rodgers is the man. I know people don't like him and they think he's weird, and maybe he is. But I tell you what, there's not many people in this world that have ever thrown a football like Aaron Rodgers has. And hallucinogenic drink or whatever, obviously the NFL is okay with it. So it's not that bad for you because you know how harsh they are. They don't even like weed. And if that's the case, I'm okay with it. I think it's fine. Whatever. I just thought it was a funny story.
Bro, Josh Gordon is sitting back in his house livid at the NFL right now. I got 25 damn games for some marijuana. But this man out here hallucinating, walking around the streets naked and jumping off cliffs in Bolivia, but I can't smoke some weed. Listen,
to be fair, Josh Gordon wasn't just on weed. We always bring up Josh Gordon there. He has a real drug issue.
That's just what they talk about when they talk about his suspensions for sure.
Yeah.
I'll say this about it. I do know that there has been a lot of research lately into hallucinogens around the world. There's been some real scientists cracking down and diving deep into this stuff. And they are finding that more and more of these things, we just didn't have the information back in the day. And now, some of these things they're realizing aren't as bad as they once upon a time thought. And Aaron Rodgers and his Con Air What's his Nicolas Cage, hip
Nicolas
himself.
Cage,
of course
yeah.
he does stuff like this.
Cameron Poe,
So,
baby.
you know,
Cameron
Hey,
Poe.
There you go. There you go.
It is what it is.
That was our morning headlines presented by Manscaped's Body Wash. Go check out manscaped.com. Check out their body wash. It is the best body wash out on the market. Use their premium, ultra premium body wash. It's infused with aloe vera, sea salt to keep your skin feeling so fresh and so clean. Go check it out, manscaped.com, and use that promo code SACCITY to save yourself 20% off and free shipping. It's the best. Go do it right now. Get yourself clean and fresh ready for the day. Aaron, injury report time. Lots to talk about. Get into it.
Oh man, let's. There's a lot going on. Let's start off first with what I thought was the biggest injury because we talked about him in the draft and we talked about how Baltimore could use him, and that's Tyler Linderbaum. Tyler Linderbaum. Obviously, we know about the Liz Frank injury, but he had something flare up in his foot. And Coach Harbaugh, I thought it was the Liz Frank coming back. Coach Harbaugh had other things on his mind.
That's not true. It's not a Liz Frank sprain. There's a ligament. It's not that ligament. It's a different ligament. So he's had the Liz Frank before. There's no separation. There's no Liz Frank sprain per se. That's my understanding. You know, I'm not a doctor, but I play one in press conferences, as you know. But that's what I was told. He's got a soft tissue, type of a deal, a ligament type of a deal in his foot. That is not a serious thing, but we want it to be right and healed. So, it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's not a Liz Frank.
A medical expert by any means is necessary, but this is huge for the Baltimore Ravens and their line. Like we talked about them losing some key pieces, and now you look at their offensive line and you get a Patrick McCarry or a Tristan Colon that's sitting behind Tyler Linderbaum, slated as the starter as a rookie, and you don't know what's going to happen under center with Lamar Jackson. So I think that's an important injury that Baltimore has to kind of look up, worry about. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully it doesn't last too long. But I have some concerns because if they lose him, that's the anchor of their offensive line. Despite him being a rookie, that's somebody up front that's going to be missed.
Well, that's I feel like the second most important spot on there. Well, second most important thing when it comes to that offense, it's Lamar Jackson and it's that offensive line. If you don't have those two things, you're not going to win if you're Baltimore because that's how your receivers, we talked about it before, it's not looking that great. I mean, Mark Andrews is great as well, but that offense runs through Lamar and it runs through that offensive line. And when those two things are going, it's great. And if one of those two things are off, it's a problem. That's for sure. What else is in the injury report today, Aaron?
Yeah, more offensive line. Let's go to your Jets. Mekhi Becton, who we thought may retire from football in the offseason, came back. Everything was looking good, like it was good to go. And then now he's expected to miss a good portion of the season with the kneecap/patella injury. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet, but more serious than what originally thought. And I think when there was first reports coming out, they said, oh, it's not too serious. But as the day kind of progressed, more and more came out, and now he's in serious jeopardy of missing significant time. And once again, we talk about the offensive line, and this time we go to the Jets, who have added a ton of weapons. When you bringing guys like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, and you think that offense is going to take that next step, and you expect a guy like Mekhi Becton to come back, now you have to worry about the depth on the offensive line, especially that right tackle position. And they're looking directly at Max Mitchell. Again, another rookie now from LSU, having to step in and kind of fill the shoes of a Mekhi Becton. And again, Mekhi Becton he's had issues with weight, but he was a pretty good run blocker. He's a pretty good offensive lineman. And they added, they got George Fant. They got Laken Tomlinson. They added some pieces. Connor McGovern's there. Elijah Vera Tucker. They were just kind of hoping Mekhi Becton could come back in and fill that right tackle. And now they're in jeopardy of not having that. So that's a big loss for them as well. And then finally, Famous Jameis did hurt his ankle in practice. They did say it wasn't very serious, or they don't think it's very serious. But again, that could be a huge loss if the Saints are missing him for any length of time. We don't want to see Andy Dalton. We definitely don't want to see the Taysom Hill experiment anymore. I think they had enough of that last year. So Ian Book is there as a third guy now. So hopefully Jameis can get back right, but I think everything will be okay with that.
And that would be a tough blow because I guess it would be a tough blow behind him. Andy Dalton is the backup for the New Orleans Saints, so we'll see how that goes. That does it for our injury report. We are about to get into our Seahawks and our Broncos season preview, but first, AJ, please do us a favor, load up those golden pipes. Honestly, I think our whole problem with the music and AJ's mic has a lot to do with StreamYard. Shout out StreamYard. This is what's happening right now.
Talking, AJ, go ahead.
You got me scared, but I'm going to do my best. Hopefully this voice is coming through beautifully to tell everybody to head over to Sack City Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and the TikTok. You know how your boys do it on all your wonderful social media. Socials are rolling. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Vinny, for knocking that out right. So, again, at Sack City Pod, hit those likes, hit those follows, hit those shares on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and roll with your boys every now Monday through Friday, because football season is back, baby. 5 days a week and probably twice on Sunday. So holla at your boys at Sack City Pod. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
And that's right. And you know what? Support for the Sack City podcast is brought to you now by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. That's right. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. That's right. I said family jewels. Manscaped Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million worldwide who trust Manscaped with the exclusive offer we are giving to you. 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code SACCITY at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, I think, Vinny, AJ, that's 12 million balls. And I got a story about
that's a lot of balls.
That is a lot of balls. And, there was a story. I went down south to take care of my region, and I nicked myself. And then I went online and I looked up manscaped.com. So I had to go get my lawnmower 4.0 to reduce those nicks. And that's exactly what the Performance Package 4.0 has done. It's a game changer. Inside the pack, you get the lawnmower 4.0, trimmer, weed whacker, and nose hair trimmer, crop, ball preserver deodorant, reviver toner, and a pair of boxer briefs to boot. First off, the lawnmower 4.0 is the trimmer of the future. Grooming and, dare I say, greatest ball trimmer ever. That's right, it's 4th generation, has 4,000K LED spotlight on it, and very, very precise shade. Because the trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to the mess on your bathroom floor. It's time to take care of yourself. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SACCITY at manscaped.com. That is 20% off and free shipping. Free shipping, guys. And you all know, $10 for shipping. You get free shipping. 20% off, free shipping, manscaped.com, and be sure to type in the code SACCITY.
I got to be honest, guys. I went out and I bought myself the package, and
don't lie. You didn't buy it. They are now a proud sponsor. They gave it to you for free. This is what the perks of being sponsored now. They gave it to you for free.
I went out. I got it today, and my wife was like, "What is in that?" And I opened it up. I described it to her. I let her know what was going on, and she was like, "Oh my God, you got to make this happen. I'm tired of the jungle. You got to do something about it." And I'm doing it.
It's crazy. Yeah, she actually told me she bought you a weed whacker, and then I told her she didn't have to, that the Manscaped 4.0 lawnmower trimmer was coming.
Like a real weed whacker?
Like a real weed whacker. She had safety goggles and everything for him.
She told me she was going to go to Home Depot the other day and pick something up. I guess that's what it was. So I guess that's where we're at. Manscaped, proud sponsor of the Sack City podcast. Be sure to go get your Manscaped products today. Use that promo code SACCITY for 20% off and free shipping. Let's get into our season previews, starting things off with the Seattle Seahawks. We are going to go deep here, gentlemen. We're going to go offense, defense, schedule, record predictions, what to watch for, odds, and our preseason top 32. Let's start off with the offense. AJ, what is the most underrated part of this offense that actually might surprise people this season in a good way?
The funny thing about it, now I don't even know if he just does it on purpose or if he really just can't tell us apart for some reason. The funny thing is, my thought process for this offense and what's underrated is really been the bread and butter for what they want to do, and that's the run game. I actually think that this run game is going to be a little better than some people are expecting. There was a conversation about Chris Carson and if he was going to come back. And for some of us, we kind of knew the writing was on the wall for Chris Carson. But I think there was still that slither of positivity that he might be back and be able to hit this, help this run game. But now that the retirement came, I think people thought that it was really going to fall off. You just have Rashad Penny. But we talked about him a lot and how he came on strong at the end of last season, Talking 4 out of his last 5 weeks, he rushed for over 130 yards, ripped off 8 different runs for more than 25 yards, while averaging 7 yards a carry during that point in time. So they're really hoping that he can take that end to last season and carry it over this year. But the other big thing to really think about when it comes to Rashad Penny is he too has had some injury issues. Since 2020, he's only played 20 of a possible 33 games. So if he's the type of guy that ends up missing time this season, they're very excited for their guy who they would call the number 1 backup in Kenneth Walker out of Michigan State. This guy was explosive last year. A lot of people would say that he was the best running back out of the draft, which sure you can argue it was Breece Hall, but either way, the other conversation comes down to Kenneth Walker as well. And this is the guy that Pete Carroll kind of likes his style of running back. Big with yards after contact, was 3rd in the nation last year on that. So I think he's going to be able to step up and step in. And with these two guys running the rock, I think you're going to see a better run game than you did last year that was near the bottom of the league.
Whoa. AJ, you had such a great take. And I was like, I was with it. And until you just ruined it at the end. They were at the bottom of the league last year. They were in the top 10 in rush yards per game last year. So, yeah, you can win. The Seattle Seahawks were in top 10 in rush yards per game last year. Yes, they were 122 rushing yards per game. Listen, I was on board with everything you said. I do think this is an underrated part of their team. I do think it's going to improve even more this year, but I have to discredit you for what you said about last year because they were a decent run team last year. They just didn't run the ball as much as we would have liked because Russell Wilson was there. But the fact is, they still were a top 10 rush team last year, and that was with Chris Carson banged up. Rashad, what? Go on.
No,
that's all I had to say. I agree with your take 100%, except take 1% away for saying that they were a poor rush team last year when they ran for top 10 in the league last year, 122 yards a game.
Everything I saw talked about how they could not get the run game going. They could not stay consistent because they were rotating between a DJ Dallas, a Travis Homer, an Alex Collins, and Rashad Penny was injured for all season until the last.
I don't know where you're getting research from, but they averaged 5 yards a carry, which was 3rd in the NFL last year. So they had 5 yards a carry, 3rd in the NFL. They were top 10 in rush yards per game. I don't know where you're getting these numbers from.
Well, I just saw a graphic 2 days ago where the Cleveland Browns were at the top at 5 rush yards a game, tied with the Indianapolis Colts.
Yes, 5.1. Cleveland number 1, Colts number 2, Seattle number 3 at 5 yards a carry. They only ran the ball 413 times last year.
So
That's been the problem for the Seahawks is they put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands too much. They didn't lean on the run game, so they didn't have as many total yards as some teams because they didn't rush the ball as much. But yards per game and average per rush yard, they were tops in the league.
They were 9th in rushing yards per game last season. That is the definitive number right there. They were 9th in the NFL in rushing yards per game.
Fantastic.
I'm going to do this. Just because. So I made that little mistake of putting Aaron in there instead of you. We give you 2 hours to prep, and you still can't get the damn facts right. Together.
I went like 3 or 4 different sites. I'm sorry. I don't know why my sites talk about how they weren't consistent and couldn't get it up in the league and was at the bottom near the league. I double checked. It wasn't like I took one damn excerpt and was like, I like that one. Nah,
you just made Joe from Tacoma, Washington yell at us in the comments. Okay.
He called him Joe from Tacoma, Washington.
You just made Joe mad at us, okay? He is ripping you in the comments right now for not knowing your shit.
I think the fact is, like, I agree. I think the Seattle goes back to their old school of when Russell was young approach, which is we want to lean heavily on the run game. You sign Rashard Penny, you bring in a Kenneth Walker, who's been, from all indications, been really, really impressive in camp. I think they run the ball heavily, and they look for Geno Smith or Drew Lock to not make mistakes on the offensive side of the football.
I agree. I love Ken Walker this year. I told you guys, at least for fantasy this year, he's going to be the starting running back eventually in Seattle this year, and he's going to be an RB2 towards the end of the season. Maybe not season long, but from like week 11 to week 18, you're going to see Ken Walker be an RB2, and at least in fantasy football. And I love you guys' takes saying that that's going to be a big part of Seattle's team moving forward. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Aaron, what part of this defense needs to step up the most? Obviously, losing a big piece in Bobby Wagner this offseason is huge. But what part of that defense, whether it be the defensive linemen, the linebackers, the corners, whatever, what part needs to step up the most?
What other parts are on the defense, Vinny?
Hey, I'm just trying to elaborate on the question.
I told you I was on one today. I told you I had energy. I don't need your
okay.
assistance on remembering what parts of the defense that are at the levels that we have in the NFL. I don't need you to help. But anyways, to your point.
There is so much hostility on this show right now. The Seattle Seahawks are breaking us, and we're only one team in.
No, it's because I told you I wasn't messing around. I told you I wasn't messing around today. So listen, to me, it straight goes to the defensive line. This is a team that struggled in the past to get to the quarterback. They haven't been up there in sacks, and you lose guys like Jadeveon Clowney a year or 2 years ago. They just haven't been able to put pressure. And now you look at guys like Shelby Harris and Al Woods and Poona Ford, guys who have never put pressure on the quarterback. And you're going to ask the guys on the back end, the Jamal Adams of the safety, the Sidney Jones at corner, to cover guys for a long period of time. I don't know if they can do that. I think the back end of that defense is talented, but I don't know if they can hold up long enough for a defensive line that struggled to get to the quarterback with guys that aren't really that good at getting to the quarterback and being able to hold up that long for this defense. And that's what we're looking for. If they can get to the quarterback or generate pressure with Uchenna Nwosu from the Chargers and linebacker blitzes or whatever they got to do to generate that pressure, I think it's important because the defensive line getting to the quarterback is going to be the number one reason whether Seattle's defense is successful or it fails.
And I mean, they gotta play Trey Lance twice a year. They gotta play Kyler Murray twice a year.
Good luck getting to those guys.
Yeah, this is what the NFC West is turning into. I mean, and Matt Stafford, it can move too. I mean, I'm not going to consider him a slouch either. But they brought over Nwosu from Los Angeles. He was actually one of their best pass rushers aside from Joey Bosa. He was actually in his time with the Chargers. He actually had more sacks than guys like Melvin Ingram there. He was a producer when it came to sacks for the Chargers. So that's going to be a big piece for the Seattle Seahawks team moving forward. And I agree that pass rush is going to be huge for this team. I like the direction that they're going, though.
I believe they finished bottom 10 in sacks last year. They just don't generate enough pressure. Really, and their defense wasn't actually that good last year. You look at their 2021 team defense rankings, they did not finish really good at just about anything other than opponents' points per game. I mean, they finished 9th there, but other than that, it was not a good season for the Seattle Seahawks defense, and they're going to have to make some changes. Well, yeah, I mean, it's directly linked to the pass rush. They were second worst in pass yards given up per game. But again, a lot of that is, hey, I'm covering my guy, but I can't cover him forever. I need some help. Get to the quarterback, make things easier on the back end. And again, they have some good, young, talented players on the back end, including 2 really good safeties. But if that front line or those linebackers can't find a way to create pressure, they're going to have the same issue this year.
Yep. Let's move on to their schedule here. And if you missed our schedule breakdown shows, it's still on our YouTube. You can go check that out at Sack City Pod. We have the Seahawks special sectioned off for you as an easy viewing pleasure. But this is their schedule right here. And AJ, what part of this schedule will define the Seahawks season?
Oof, what a question. Honestly, it's what they do in their own division. Can you do the normal split with some of these teams? And as we just mentioned, that's very hard to do. I don't see a lot of consistency coming from this team. It's not like I don't see a 3-game win streak or anything like that for them. So if they can show up and they can play their division well, give them something to think about, like you're not just sleeping on the Seahawks in your division. I think watching guys like how are you gonna play the Cardinals twice a week? How are you gonna adjust to what you saw the last time you played a team? How are you gonna set up your offense to at least match some of the powers that are in the NFC West? So that's kind of where the definition for what the Seahawks will do this season. Because again, we all know that we don't think there's going to be much success this year. But if you can do enough and you can adjust enough that these young guys can at least learn the steps of the NFL, so that next year when they're putting some more studs on this offense and this defense, you're in a good position to at least compete for another 3 or 4 wins and continue that trajectory upward going forward.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I mean, that's going to be huge to how they handle those division games. I also think a big part of the Seahawks schedule here, and I just wanted to note this as well, is how they play against those the average to the below average teams. I mean, you see the games like the Falcons, the Lions, the Giants, teams like that. The teams that are all around that same area as the Seahawks, how they play against those teams really could help define this season, whether it would really lay out where this rebuild actually is. Because I mean, you look at like the Giants, they've got hopefully potentially their franchise quarterback in Daniel Jones. Detroit's moving in the right direction with Dan Campbell. I mean, these teams are all a little bit further ahead in the rebuild process than Seattle is, at least on paper. So it's going to be a really telling sign when they get matched up against those teams. But let's do it, gentlemen. Let's get into these record predictions here for the Seattle Seahawks. Aaron, start with you. What is your record prediction for the Seahawks?
Yeah, I've been saying it that this team's going to struggle. I like everything they did in the offseason. We talk about the draft that they had, the rookies they brought in, Abraham Lucas, Charles Cross, fixed the offensive line, Kenneth Walker added their running back depth. And then we talked about the guys on defense, the Boye Mafes, Kobe Bryant's, the guys in the secondary that they brought in, Tariq Woolen in the draft, free agents, Uchenna Owosu. I think this team is trending in the right direction. I still think this team is a quarterback away. So I still think this team gets a quarterback or good quarterback play. They can compete and they'll have a chance. I just don't know if that quarterback is on the roster currently. So I think that's why they struggle this year. They don't have favorable matchups game after game after game where they get 3 or 4 in a row with easy teams or mediocre teams that they might be able to put some wins together. So 4-13. I got 4 wins for me. 4-13. I told you they'll beat Atlanta because we know Atlanta is Atlanta and it's AJ's team. The Giants, the Niners, and then they'll beat the Rams one time because it'll be a division game. Probably that week 17 game or week 18 game when the Rams have nothing to play for because they've already locked up the division.
Okay. All right. You're staying on par with what you had in our NFC West schedule breakdown. So 4-13 is what you had. AJ, what about yours? What's your record prediction?
He said a lot there, and I agree with like 95% of it. I also have them at except for the Falcons. And honestly, I thought about that I thought about that a lot actually, where my 4 wins were for the Seahawks. I actually have them beating San Francisco early in the season. I think Trey Lance is still going to be figuring some things out, and they'll have a chance to catch them there. I don't think they'll beat them later in the season. The other thing I have is you brought up the Giants and that team there. I think, honestly, I have them beating the Giants, but I also – that's one of the ones that I'm not so sure on because I think they're catching them at a bad time. With Brian Dable coming in there 7-8 weeks to go and learn the system and his effect on that team, I think that the New York Giants will be in a better situation. I think that defense will be clicking on a lot of cylinders, if not all by then, to help that offense where it's lacking. So while I have them beating the Giants as of now, that might be my toss-up win that I have for the Seattle Seahawks as of now. But I also kept with 4-13, and I'm pretty confident in that.
All righty, so that's slightly different than your 5-12 prediction for the NFC West. It is completely okay because that's as the offseason progresses, really there's toss-ups in these games. I had 3-14 for this team. I am perfectly fine with jumping to 4-13. I have no problem with 4-13 with this team. Lots of these games with this team, it's hard to say because the talent is there. It's just like you said, Aaron. The quarterback is just the one thing that they're missing. Lock him in for 4-13. Aaron, what's the one thing you're watching for this season with the Seattle Seahawks?
Oh, this is easy. I think this is kind of the low-hanging fruit. It's which quarterback is going to win this battle in camp, and I think we're going to find out early what's going to happen here. I think we're seeing it now. The other day reports Drew Lock outperforms Geno Smith in one of their scrimmages, went like 16 for 24, 200 some yards, a couple of touchdowns, and Geno Smith didn't play very well. So I'm looking for who actually takes the lead, takes command of this under center position. And I think that's going to be telling you what Seattle does going forward, because I do think if it's Geno Smith, I think they're looking desperately for a quarterback next year. But if Drew Lock can come in and show some sort of signs, you might start to get the conversation around, hey, maybe Seattle doesn't have to draft a quarterback in next year's draft, and maybe it's a pass rusher, maybe it's somebody else, and they take a quarterback maybe later. So I'm looking directly at that quarterback position.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at these young cornerbacks in Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant. Obviously, you put a Cincinnati man on the team, I'm probably going to bring him up. But no, I'm really excited actually about Tariq Woolen, and they're raving about him in camp. They're putting him in with the ones and watching him not even try his best, is actually getting the better of some of these receivers on that offensive side of the ball. They talk about how fast he is. They talk about his instincts around the ball, and they talk about his desire to just be great. And I think that's something where you can see him start to make an impact early in the season. And so if they can start getting these young cornerbacks and that secondary back into prominence like it was in the days of the Legion of Boom, and now you can get next season going and you have a defense that actually has stepped up, you're in a good spot moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sticking on the defense as well. I'm jumping in here to put my 2 cents in. I'm really watching what you guys had, what Aaron, you brought up earlier about the defense, that pass rush. Not only did they bring in Iwosu, they also brought in Shelby Harris in that trade that was with Russell Wilson, but they also drafted Boye Mafe, the defensive end out of Minnesota. I really want to see the development of this defensive line and this pass rush, because I think the core group of guys are there for Seattle. At least for the pass rush, the core group of guys with Mafe, with Shelby Harris, with Nwosu, that's it right there. That's your core. And I want to see how that develops this season for the Seattle Seahawks. Now we're going to play a little game. Little game here for you, gentlemen. A little odds, little prop bets for this season. And we are going to be giving our Seattle Seahawks prop bet locks. I'm going to give you guys 3 prop bets. And I need you guys to establish one prop bet that you are going to lock in. It is a guaranteed lock. It's going to hit this season. I got the odds for you. You lock it in. We'll revisit this at the end of the season to see if you're right. This is the Seattle Seahawks prop bets. Under 5.5 wins is plus 120. Over 6.5 touchdowns for DK Metcalf is minus 115. And Ken Walker, offensive rookie of the year, is plus 1,200. You gentlemen have to lock in one of these odds here to take with you through the end of the season. What is it, Aaron?
Oh, it's easy for me. It's the under 5.5 wins for plus 120. Like, I'm getting plus money on under 5.5. That means they can get 5 wins and I still win my money. Yeah, plus 120 is a great number for that. I don't love the DK Metcalf number there. That's tough odds there. And then Kenneth Walker, I'm sorry, but running backs, just good luck trying to win offensive rookie of the year. It's probably going to go to a quarterback or a receiver, so.
Yeah, especially if he's fighting with Rashad Penny. If he stays healthy, that's going to be a hard feat to beat. So if we're allowed to keep the same one, because I mean, obviously, it's definitely the under 5.5 is a lock for me as well. DK Metcalf, I feel, is a little closer, but I also think he's the only one that they're going to be able to hit, really. So I think he's gonna hit that 7 touchdown mark.
Okay, I saw that. I was like, you know what? I saw because that's the odds on like the odds right now for the Seattle Seahawks is 5.5 wins over under 5.5. Like that's where odds makers are saying that's where they're going to end up being. And when I went back to look at our NFC West show, I was like, okay, AJ has them at 5, Aaron has them at 4. Maybe from that time to now, that's slightly changed a little bit. Maybe they bump up to 6 if possible. But I don't see it happening. That's definitely going to be the easy lock. I'm not taking any of those other bets, though, like you gentlemen said, with DK Metcalf, with Drew Lock now as his quarterback, or Geno Smith. It's tough. And it's crazy because DK Metcalf, throughout his entire career, has never had below 6.5 touchdowns before. Like he's been dominant, obviously, with Russell Wilson. He's had 7, 10, and 12 last season for touchdowns. So this would be considered his worst year with Seattle Seahawks if he were to get below 6 touchdowns. That's our locks. That's our preview for the Seattle Seahawks, but we have to unveil where they fall in our top 32 teams in the NFL. Aaron, would you like to do the honors of where they fall?
Yeah, near the bottom. That's what we talk about. We said it, 4 wins at the bottom. They are going to be team number 30. Team 30 out of 32. They, again, some promising signs as we move forward in the offseason, but they're going to struggle because they lack the quarterback play. They would need a great performance in order to from one of their quarterbacks in order to get higher than rank 30th. And you're on mute, so that's a minus.
I am. I'm dying over here. I'm trying not to Yes.
I understand.
Proceed. No, that's fair. For the 30th spot for the Seattle Seahawks right there. Let's move on to our last team to cover this evening, and that is the Denver Broncos. And on the offensive side of the ball, there is a lot to talk about with the Denver Broncos. AJ, there's a lot of green in this doc. What is happening in this doc? Jesus Christ.
Just ask
AJ, who will be Russell Wilson's number one target this year in Denver?
So, congrats. You got the right black guy. I'm proud of you. All right.
Wait. Am I missing something?
Maybe.
You guys are talking about green in the dock. Go ahead. Sorry. I didn't see anything.
No, AJ's notes is littered through the Broncos question for him. I'm like looking for his question, and it blends in with his notes. So I'm like, where is this?
Because my notes weren't supposed to be there. I was looking for my notes myself on my doc, and I was like, where the hell did it go? The green's gone because it. Pull that curtain back. I had it highlighted because I was about to put it on my notes and take it out of your notes, so you didn't have to worry about it because your question was supposed to be first. Mine was about to be second. So I was like, cool, I got time, but it's okay. We're going to jump right into this. You probably should know. I think I have a good feeling that the number one receiver for Russell Wilson is going to be Courtland Sutton. I think this guy has exactly what Russell Wilson is looking for in a go-to guy. Now, we talked a lot about what we expected Russell Wilson that came to the Denver Broncos for because he's got weapons all over the place, and we think he's going to spread this ball out. When it comes down to it, you think about who he had last year in a DK Metcalf. 6'4", 235, likes to be physical. I'll give that with Courtland Sutton is close to it. 6'4", 215, can be physical, loves the jump ball, but he also has the speed and possesses that deep threat that Russell Wilson also likes. So he almost gives him a DK Metcalf and a Tyler Lockett all in one. So I think that Courtland Sutton is going to be that go-to guy for Russell Wilson. He's already started to make a rapport with him. He's been audibling is such a weird word, in training camp over and over again and making the plays for Courtland Sutton, and they've been raving about their connection together. And with that being said, I also don't think this is going to be a blowout. I'm not looking at it like Courtland Sutton 150 targets, the next guy 100. I mean, if you think about last year, DK Metcalf had 129 targets. Lockett had 107. I think it's going to be something like that as well because KJ Hamler has the go route locked down, and Jerry Jeudy is one of the best route runners at a young age in the NFL. So I think that there's a lot of targets to go around, but Courtland Sutton should be that number one.
I got to put this in here. I'm out on KJ Hamler ever developing into anything in the NFL, and it's because the stupidest reason. You guys can laugh at me all you want. But the I Am Athlete podcast went over to Broncos campus past a couple days, maybe I think it was yesterday. And they asked people what the cap, they were joking around and said, they go up to KJ Hamler and they're like, what's the capital of Denver? And he's lost. He's completely lost. And then he goes, what's the capital of Colorado? And he's like, do all states have capitals? Is that a thing? Like, and I'm like, man, this dude, whether he's injured or just plain stupid, I don't understand. I'm out on KJ Hamler. Sorry, Broncos fans. I'm not riding with KJ Hamler. Although he had a great Russell Wilson impression of saying, let's ride. But I digress.
That's hilarious. Poor guy.
Aaron, you look emotionally distraught.
We're now out on football players because of intelligence?
Correct.
Then you're out on a lot of players because you would be surprised how many stupid-ass football players there are in the NFL. I'm dead ass serious.
I don't know if you'd be surprised. I don't know if we'd be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
I just haven't heard Brandon Marshall ask them what the state capital is of somewhere, and then they go, does this state actually have a capital? Do all states have capitals? I digress. We're moving on, though. Aaron,
Vinny doesn't get it. Vinny's from Plantation, Florida. He ain't from the mean streets of Alabama in the projects when you don't get the education like a real person, and you really don't know whether all states have capitals or not.
Wait, hold on. Let me do some research here. Let me just do some research here.
What are you
going to research?
No. I'm just.
Are you going to ask Google if all states have capitals?
Well, no.
You talking capital letters? You talking capital areas?
So no. Not only is KJ Hamler not from Alabama, he's from Michigan. But we're not talking about high school systems or middle school systems. This man went to Penn State. That's a university. He had a college education. So
you do realize. Wait. Okay, so now you're opening up a can. You do realize that a lot of these players that have a college education don't really go to college, right? You do know that they never go to class. They never attend a session. That they have Allie Mae and Betty Sue and Krista and all of the. Hey,
it's okay. I don't need to hear from any of you gentlemen anymore. Bob from Boulder is ripping me to shreds in the comment section, saying KJ Hamler is going to be a wide receiver 1 and this and that. So I digress.
Bob from Boulder.
Aaron, next question. Russell Wilson obviously throwing those receivers the ball, but earlier on in our preseason coverage and our training camp coverage, you brought up something about Russell Wilson that I wanted to get back into. That's the pressure regarding him this season with the Denver Broncos. So what kind of pressure is he under this season?
Oh, I said it before. I'll say it again. Russell Wilson's under the most pressure of any NFL quarterback this season. Any NFL quarterback. And the reason is you're talking about a guy, year 2, goes and wins the Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks. Run game, great defense. Now they say, let Russ cook. So what do? They let him cook. And then every year it seems to fall short. Starts great. MVP? No way, he's not an MVP, and fell short year after year after year. Again, this is not my personal opinion saying he's not good. It's just the fact of the matter is he is going to have immense pressure coming into a situation with a great running game, a decent offensive line, great weapons on the outside, an elite defense from last season, and they have a number of young players on that roster that says we are ready to win now. They have an offensive-minded coach that worked with Aaron Rodgers, who's won MVPs and been to championship games. Russell Wilson is under the most pressure in the NFL to make Denver a contender. Now, I'm not saying he has to go and win a Super Bowl this year, but Russell Wilson has to get them to the playoffs. Russell Wilson has to get them on a deep playoff run. In order for this experiment to even be worth it for Denver, Wilson's going to have to make a difference. And I think this is right back to where Peyton Manning on the Denver Broncos back, a few years back, this is a very similar situation. He is there to bring them home a championship. And if he doesn't do that during his time there, then it's a failure.
Ooh. What about the legacy, though, of Russell Wilson outside of – so obviously if he comes into Denver, doesn't win a Super Bowl, it's a failure. But what does this do for his legacy overall?
Russell Wilson is a winner. And I don't like the word like Mr. Dylan Kearns like to call Aaron Rodgers, he's not a winner, even though he's won the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson's already won, so he is a winner. He has a great record in the regular season. He's done amazing things. He's put up good numbers. But the argument becomes legacy and whether somebody is a Hall of Famer or not. One of the best to ever do it at the position. And I'm sorry, right now, he's not a Hall of Famer with the Super Bowl ring, right? So if he just continues to put up numbers for the next 5-7 years, could he get in? Sure. The numbers might say, hey, he's good enough to get in. But when we're talking about legacy and being one of the best players to ever do it at the position, I think he falls short. I think you're not going to compare him to guys who he may have better numbers in, but wasn't as successful as. So I think you run into this situation with a lot of guys. We talked about it with Matt Stafford. I think Russell Wilson's in that conversation. But I think he has to go to Denver and make deep playoff runs year after year after year in order for us to really appreciate what he is. As of right now, if he just comes in the AFC West, that's tough, and doesn't make the playoffs, first round exit, doesn't make the playoffs, first round exit, I'm not looking at him as a Hall of Famer. I'm gonna bypass him and go to the next guy. So my opinion, I just think he needs to do more. There has to be deep playoff runs somewhere during this tenure in Denver.
I just want to say this. With a guy like Russell Wilson, it's not about will he get in the Hall of Fame, because the level of player he is, it's can he be a first ballot Hall of Famer? That's the question with a Russell Wilson. Like I full-heartedly believe the 8th, 9th try, 50 years down the road or whatever, Russell Wilson's in the Hall of Fame for what he's done now. You know what I mean? But like with Russell
Wilson,
you
think he's a Hall of Famer right now if he leaves?
On the eventuality, yes. I think he will be put into the Hall of Fame on the eventuality. When you have a Hall of Fame that you can get in 40 years down the road, yeah, he'll get in the Hall of Fame.
No way.
With Russell Wilson, it is, can you be a first ballot Hall of Famer? That's where a level like that you have to talk with. Like it's not, you're not looking at Russell Wilson like, you're not looking at Russell Wilson thinking, will he one day get in the Hall of Fame?
He's not even on the precipice of a first ballot Hall of Famer right. Not even on, he can go win a Super Bowl in Denver right now. He wouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I mean, that argument would get a lot louder. The argument will get a lot louder.
No way.
Listen, bro. Okay, so first off, I've been with you when I said that I don't think that Russell Wilson is that surefire Hall of Famer. And so a lot of this conversation does not come from me thinking Russell Wilson deserves to go in the Hall of Fame right now. It comes from the same people who talked about Eli Manning getting into the Hall of Fame because of his name when he sports a 500 record. Yes, he has 2 Super Bowls. Yes, he's been clutch. I get that with Eli Manning. Don't get me wrong. We're also talking about one play away from 2 Super Bowls back-to-back for Russell Wilson. That's the reason the conversation of him being where he should be and in the conversation of can you one day be a first ballot Hall of Famer comes from, because everyone looks at Russell Wilson that he should have accomplished more than he already has. And that's where my conversation of the thought process that if you're talking about Russell Wilson, you want to utter the words Hall of Fame, I think going to Denver, yes, he has to win a Super Bowl. And I think he has to do it within the first 3 years to be, in all honesty, looking at the way he's been touted as a top-notch elite quarterback.
But you're saying it as if he's accomplished that now. Like, what has he, again, aside from year 2 winning the Super Bowl, can you really, what has Russell Wilson accomplished? Never won an MVP. Matter of fact, I don't think he's ever received an MVP vote, let alone win it. He's never got an MVP vote at all. So he's never even been lauded as the best player at his position in any given year. So he's never had an MVP vote. What tells you now that he's never been an All-Pro? What accolades say he's a Hall of Famer right now? What has he done?
Russell Wilson's never been an All-Pro?
No.
So that one blows my mind.
Never been an All-Pro. Never been All-Pro. He's never been had an MVP vote. Like, we can look at the thing is the problem with today's NFL is we see numbers. He puts up numbers every week, but we can go look at the list of all-time passing leaders of guys who aren't in the Hall of Fame. Carson Palmer. What do you think about Carson Palmer? Minus the Super Bowl win, Carson Palmer over the span of his career far exceeds any numbers that Russell Wilson's even close to putting up right now. And we're not considering him by any means a first ballot Hall of Famer, let alone in the Hall of Fame at all. Like, should be that's good, but that's going to be a hard conversation to have. Like, is Carson Palmer a Hall of Famer? Yes, you and I might agree he is, but that conversation is going to be something that is carried on for a long time. And the further they get out, the more the younger generation of players that are throwing all these passing numbers out of the window because of more games and more stats, it's going to be harder and harder to put those guys in. Because when you look in this generation and you look at Russell Wilson, you're going to say, hey, was he ever the best player at his position? And was he any different than guys like Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, some of the other quarterbacks that have put up great numbers but haven't really accomplished a whole lot?
We're gonna get spicy on this, and we're gonna continue on the Broncos, but I just want to get a little bit more spicy. Is Drew Brees a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yes,
absolutely.
He owns almost every passing record there is to own.
Absolutely.
So him and Russell Wilson not close at all. Like when you look at the accolades, like Drew Brees has more Pro Bowls. He has 13 as opposed to Russell Wilson's 9. He does have 1 All-Pro, but Drew Brees has never been nominated for an MVP. He's never had an MVP vote. So that's what it made me think of that. I just wanted to make a comparison.
That's part of the reason why Drew Brees isn't listed as like a top 5 quarterback of all time. Because even though he's broken every record, even though he's been up there and he actually led his team to a Super Bowl and wasn't just like a part of being there, he's broken all these records, but he's never had an MVP vote.
No, I feel like when we talk to Joe from Tacoma. If we talk to Joe from Tacoma, he's going to take offense to that whole Russell Wilson was just a part. And I know you didn't necessarily say that.
It was his second year in the league. He was still
like I said, I think Joe from Tacoma might get a little upset about that. But I digress.
Why? Wait. Why?
Because fans have feelings, okay? They have feelings, okay?
He threw for 3,300 yards.
Sam from Spokane is going to be upset that you said Russell Wilson is not a part of this, okay?
Vinny, I don't give a shit what these fans have to say in these comments. They can come at me anytime they want.
Let them hear.
Russell Wilson got carried, and I don't want to say he didn't have anything to do with it, but he was a part of a team that won a Super Bowl. He was not the reason that team won the Super Bowl.
Fair enough. Let's go over to the defensive side of the ball here for the Denver Broncos. AJ, I am starting with you. I know it's not listed first, but it's kind of how this works. If Aaron finished talking, I'm going to go to you first because that's how it works. You'll learn eventually, I promise.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Good to know.
Where
Glad I
does
have you.
this defense? Where does this defense rank in the AFC with the new additions of guys like Randy Gregory and a guy like Patrick Surtain taking the next step into year 2?
So, last year I was very high on this defense. I talked about them all along. I really like what they had on that side of the ball. This year, I like them. But when you talk about the AFC, I think they're going to fall somewhere like 5 or 6. There are a lot of great defenses in this AFC conference this season. And I do believe a guy like Kyle Fuller being gone, Bryce Callahan was kind of an underrated slot cornerback last year. I think losing those guys is going to have an effect. But adding the guys you're hoping it counteracts when you grab the Randy Gregory, when you get that draft pick of a Nick Bonito, you hope that pans out and he plays up to the level that they were expecting. But when you look at the defenses in the AFC, undoubtedly the Buffalo Bills are easily, to me, the best defense in the AFC, if not possibly the league. I think the Ravens have a great defense. They have so many people coming back off of injury last year, this year, plus adding a guy like Kyle Hamilton, who we know is one of the best rookies on the defensive side of the ball. Adding a guy like David Ojabo, who's eventually going to play in the second half of the season. Odafe Owe is another year older and wiser in this league. I think the Colts have a great defense. I think Cleveland's secondary, I've been talking about them for a while. I think they're going to take a step forward. And then, of course, you have the Chargers down there as well. So it's not that I think that the Denver Broncos defense isn't going to be good. I just think in this AFC this year, there is a defense that is to be reckoned with on just about every division at the highest level. And I think you're going to see in the AFC conference a 5 or 6 type of falling for the Denver Broncos.
Yes.
That's fair.
You want to know why? I agree. Different reasons. Part of the problem they're going to fall off a little bit more this year is the AFC West is so damn good. It's 6 games against the Chargers, Chiefs, and Raiders. And I don't care how good your defense is. Those guys are going to put up points. They only gave up 18 or 19 points a game last year. Just those 6 games alone, I imagine that those teams are going to put up some points. So they're still a really, really good defense. 5 or 6 in the conference. Some of the teams AJ mentioned, I could see it anywhere between 3 and 6 or 7.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like the point about the fact that those offenses are really going to bring that Broncos defense way down. No, I shouldn't say way down, but it'll hurt them a little bit. One other piece on this defense I just mentioned a little bit ago was Patrick Surtain. And Aaron, I think it was early on in the offseason process, you mentioned that Patrick Surtain could possibly be a stud. What do you expect from him from year 2, and does he take that next leap forward?
Yeah, I talked about actually early in the season too. Last year, watching him play, I was like, dude, this guy could be the best corner in football. Like, I think, and I liked J.C. Horn a little bit more coming out. I thought that he would be the guy that ended up being elite, and he still might have that chance. But Patrick Surtain did surprise me a little bit how effective he was when he first got on the field. Like, I thought it would take some time to get used to the NFL speed, and it didn't. He came right in and he fit the bill. He was perfect. Everything he did in the passing game was perfect. His leverage, his hand placement, everything you want as an elite corner, he has it. And look, if at the end of 2022 we're saying that Patrick Surtain is the best corner in football, it wouldn't shock me. I know it's hard to think because we got Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard and all these guys that we say are really great corners, and that may be the case, but putting Patrick Surtain right up there is going to be a thing. Talking about a team again, they were third. I think they were third last year in pass yards allowed, or maybe it was a little bit more down a little bit further than that. But they had a rookie starting, and in the NFL, the disadvantage of a rookie corner is something we just don't see very often. We talked about it this upcoming season with Sauce Gardner, like how it's going to take him to get incorporated into the NFL. Patrick Surtain is going to be one of the better cornerbacks in football, and again, it would not shock me if he's labeled the best by the season end.
Wow, the best, like number one over
like number one. Very similar to a way, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's similar to this. Last year, there was a lot of talk about Trayvon Diggs and how good he was last year, but people were talking about this. He gave up big plays. That kind of conversation about Pat Surtain could happen this year. Like people wanted to move Diggs into that conversation, and maybe he gave up too many big plays. Pat Surtain is not doing that. Pat Surtain is very disciplined and technically sound. Maybe he doesn't get you the 10 picks, but he's also not giving up big plays because he's not biting on double moves. He's not overly aggressive. He's not, doing things he shouldn't be doing. And that might be the difference between him and a Diggs. So it would not shock me if he's in that conversation by the end of the year.
That's fair.
Jalen Ramsey was never an interception master either, but you knew
Correct.
he was locked down and no one was really going to throw his way. Pat Surtain, you don't really get the conversation of not throw their way as much anymore. It's a passing league. You throw the ball over the field. You just have to put it in the right spot. But Patrick Surtain's going to make you think twice, and you thinking twice is enough for that pass rush to get there. And that goes into the equation of being one of the best cornerbacks in the league. I'm right there with you. I think he can be I think he's going to be top 3 for sure. When you get to number 1, the conversations start getting a little
and
louder.
Xavier Howard is really the only corner. Him and maybe Tre'Davious White are like the only corners that get interceptions that are considered lockdown corners, right?
Yeah.
Like most lockdown corners, you just don't see a lot of interceptions. For whatever reason, Xavier Howard is so good at finding ways to be around the ball. Tre'Davious White is really good at it. But most of those guys that are considered the top corners, you don't look at the end of the season and see them leading the league in interceptions. It's because they don't get the opportunities because they're throwing to guys like Anthony Brown.
Darrelle Revis, baby. Darrelle Revis Island. That's how it was. That's one of my favorite players of all time right there. But yeah, exactly. Let's get into the schedule for the Denver Broncos. Aaron, what part of this schedule will define the Broncos season?
I want to kind of, you know what? I will. It's down the stretch. It's down. I think they have a pretty easy schedule to start the year. I said this. I think that they could be 9-0. I think I said that in our season schedule that I thought Denver could be 9-0. I thought the teams they play, where they play them at, division, I thought they could be 9-0. But down the stretch, when they hit that Baltimore game, that Baltimore, KC, Arizona, Rams, KC, and the Chargers again, that's probably one of the more brutal stretches of any team to end a season. That's all those teams I believe could be playoff teams. All those teams are going to bring out potent offenses. And I think that's the key to Denver. How are they going to finish the season? I do think they get off to a strong start because Russell Wilson is a good quarterback. He's a great quarterback. I don't want to say he's good. He's a great quarterback. So it's going to be important for them to get off to a hot start. I think they do that. I think they're able to establish the run. But down the stretch, when it really matters, is he going to, I don't want to say fold, is he going to have some setbacks like he's had in Seattle over the past couple of seasons? Or are they going to be able to build upon that and beat some of those good teams down the stretch?
Well,
I think the difference is I don't think Nathaniel Hackett will take the ball out of his hands down the stretch unless he's giving him a reason to do so. Whereas in Seattle, they love to force the run on the second half of the season. We talked about what Russell Wilson would do the first 8 or 9 weeks every single year, and then weeks 11 through the end, what happened to Russ? They're running the ball so much.
But isn't that exactly what we're talking about here? For many times in Seattle, we were talking about they need to run the ball more. And everybody talks about let Russ cook. But as little as he was throwing, Russell Wilson did not play well down the stretch last year. Like over the past 2 seasons, he did not play well, regardless of how many times he's throwing the ball. He struggled. So for me, I think it's imperative. And I'll say this again. I don't attribute great quarterback play with what you're asked to do. Like throw the ball 20 times or throw the ball 40 times. I don't care if Russell Wilson has to throw the ball 20 times. That's perfectly fine. That means Denver's doing something right. It means they're running the ball really well. And if he's efficient, if he's going 16 for 23 with 246 yards, 3 touchdowns and no picks, and they win the game because they run the ball really well, Russell Wilson is doing exactly what I want him to do. And to me, that is a sign of greatness. That is a sign of somebody that I could get behind and say that team can win a Super Bowl. I often get tired of us talking about, well, he has to be 35 of 46 for 398 yards and 3 touchdowns. Well, why do they have to throw the ball that many times? Why don't they rely heavily on a run game that's really, really good with 2 really good running backs, a decent offensive line, and tell Russell Wilson to make plays when it matters? So I don't think it's necessarily about the amount of throws. I think it's about how effective he is when he does throw the football.
I think at the end of the season too, you brought up that being the big storyline and the defining moment for the Broncos. They're going to be a playoff team. We expect them to be a playoff team or battle for a playoff spot. It's how they do against those playoff teams is going to be huge. Aaron or AJ, what are you watching for this season with the Denver Broncos?
The only story that really matters to me. I'm sorry. We can talk about the weapons and everything, but it is the Russell Wilson story. You're talking about the last time they had a quarterback, it was Peyton Manning, who came in, took him to a Super Bowl, couldn't get it done against the Legion of Boom, got them back to the Super Bowl, won it, and rode off into the sunset. You're talking about 2 years ago, a top-notch elite quarterback, the greatest of all time, and Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers and winning a Super Bowl immediately. You're talking about last year, a guy in Matthew Stafford who was sent to hell for 12 years in Detroit and did his best and stayed loyal, moving on to L.A. and winning a Super Bowl immediately. People are looking at Russell Wilson after the chirping he did, whether it was respectful or not, about needing a line and needing help and then moving on from Seattle, and talking about him being a good quarterback and coming into Denver after 2 years in a row, a brand new QB won the Super Bowl. All eyes in Denver is on Russell Wilson. It will be great if you have a breakout season from Courtland Sutton. It'd be great if Jerry Jeudy stays healthy and has a lot of receptions. These running back stories will be fantastic. Can the defense still be great? All of that's wonderful. But when it comes down to it, all eyes in Denver are on Russell Wilson, and that's the only thing that I'm really watching. I want to see what he can do when he is expected to be the guy, because once again, you have the weapons to do so.
That's cute. That's cute. You can watch for that. I don't care what everybody else is watching for, because they are watching for that. I'm watching at the running back position. I want my man Javonte Williams. Free Javonte Williams. Free him. Let that man be the workhorse. I know Melvin Gordon's there. I know Melvin Gordon had a good year last year. I don't know why they brought his ass back. Let my man Javonte Williams eat. Free that man. He is a complete three-down back, going to be one of the better backs in the NFL. I said it before. I said it when he was coming out as a rookie. I said it all rookie year. You saw flashes of it when Melvin Gordon didn't play. My man went off. Passing game, running game. Let Javonte Williams eat. It's his time. Melvin Gordon got to go.
Wait a second. We got to call it timeout. Because I just caught something. I'm not sure if everyone else caught this, but we're talking about letting Russ cook and having Javonte eat.
Yep.
Like, wow,
Russ can cook it. Russ can cook it, but make sure you turn it around and hand it to Javonte.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Like
Russ called the plays. Hey, Russ called the plays in the huddle. Be the leader. Hey, Bronco country. Let's ride. But we're going to hand it off to Javonte Williams.
That's actually where I thought you were going. We've been saying let's cook and let's eat, but no one's been like, let's ride.
Well, I mean, it was there, like the cook.
Yeah.
And then we got a 5-star restaurant called Let's Ride in Denver right now. That's what's happening.
Free Javonte Williams.
Before we get into the predictions here, I do want to go into the odds because it has something to do with it. I've learned that's how we're going to do these things. Broncos prop bets right here are locked and loaded bets for you guys to say, okay, one of these three bets I am locking in, guaranteeing it's going to happen this season. Over under 10.5 wins for the Broncos at -20. Over 5.5 wins or 5.5 touchdowns for Courtland Sutton is at -120. And over 975.5 yards for Javonte Williams at +100. I kind of wonder where Aaron's going to go with this on his lock.
Oh, you trying to tell me where to go? Free Javonte Williams, baby. Anytime you can give me plus money for a guy that ran for 900 yards last year as a secondary piece, split back, split carries. I know he got 200 carries. You give him 200 carries again this year, he will be at 1,000 yards. Mark my words. Javonte Williams, take money. That is a lock bet. Matter of fact, I might go bet on that right now.
Hey, there you go. Go make it happen. AJ, what about you? What of these three bets are you locking in?
Aaron went with his guy. I'm going with my guy and Russell's go-to guy. Over 5.5 for Courtland Sutton. I think that is a lock. There's no Tim Patrick to argue, even though you would say he wasn't right behind him. But we saw Tim Patrick take away stats from people before. I think Courtland Sutton's good for 7 touchdowns at least. Give me that money for Courtland Sutton. Over 5.5. Lock it in.
I think that's good. I think that's a good bet. I think both could be locks in my opinion, especially that Courtland Sutton one. You look at Russell Wilson's past career in Seattle. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett never dropped below 7 touchdowns in a season when they were both together under Russell Wilson. So this is something that is I think ends up happening with Courtland Sutton, where that would be my lock. If I had to specifically go with one, a little worried about Melvin Gordon. I want Javonte to cook. I really, trust me. I have a lot invested in Javonte Williams, and I really want him to cook.
No, he ain't gonna cook. He gonna eat. Javonte Williams
gonna eat. All right, man. Eat Javonte Williams. Locking in those bets. Let's get into our record predictions for the Denver Broncos. AJ, go ahead.
So I have the Denver Broncos at 10-7 this season, and I have them sporting a very nice 5-game win streak from weeks 7 to week 12. I think that's when they really start to get hot. and take off for a little bit. But just like Aaron mentioned earlier, I think the Baltimore game is going to be really tough. And at that point, I mean, that gauntlet of a stretch to the end of the season is just super rough. So they really have to come out hot. I think there's a couple steps. The Las Vegas game will be tough. Indianapolis will be tough. But after that, I think they really start getting themselves together. And 10-7 on the season.
On par with what you had in our beginning predictions. If you missed those, go check them out on our YouTube page. Aaron.
Yeah, I have them going 10-7 as well. I think they do get off to a hot start. I mentioned I did say 9-0. I don't know if it's 9-0. Maybe it's 7-2, 8-1, somewhere around there. But I do think they get off to a hot start, and then they falter down the stretch and struggle to the end, because I think some of those teams that have playoff experience, the Raiders, Baltimore's been there before, KC, the Rams, obviously, and then you have to play your division guys in the Chargers, and Arizona's right there too, which is a tough opponent. So I think they'll split some of those games, end up going 4-5, 4-6 down the stretch, somewhere along the lines of that, and they go 10-7 overall.
Exactly what you had in your NFC West predictions as well. You guys are right on par. I'm going to stick with what I had as well in our predictions before, and that'd be 11-6 for the Denver Broncos. I do see the same setup as you guys, where they start off hot, and then that last bit of stretch is going to be tough. But I do think Denver, along the way, figures it out. Like they have to. And I think at the end of the day, they're going to have to be battling for a play. Like they're battling for either a playoff spot or home field advantage. There's going to be some type of battle that's going to keep Denver competing at the end of the season. And like I said, I think realistically, I mean, you look at that Chargers game week 18. I mean, like it happened last year with the Chargers and Raiders. It could happen again this year with the Chargers and Broncos. So it's going to be a fun day. That AFC West is going to be a fun time, and the Denver Broncos are going to be great as well. That does it though for our. Did I miss something?
Yes.
What'd I miss?
Where we gonna put these guys? Where we gonna rank them?
Oh shit!
I got you,
well,
homie.
Aaron, let us know, where are we ranking the Denver Broncos?
Aaron, come and save the day, Aaron. Come and save the day. Yeah. Anyways, Broncos. You mentioned it, playoff spot. Looking to be fighting for that. I have them fighting for that wild card spot. We'll get into all our predictions, stuff like that. But I got them ranked 13th. I think that's where we all kind of consensus is at. That should be a team that's right on the fringe. Right, battling for a playoff spot, but coming into the season, I like their roster. I think 13th is a good spot for them heading into the 2022 season.
There you have it. Now we can proceed. That does it for another episode of the Sack City Podcast. I want to remind everyone, and honestly, I'm going to give Aaron another shot at this, another roll on this. Yeah, get prepared, because after AJ tells the people where they can follow us at, you're going to come hot and heavy with a little Manscaped ad. AJ, where can they follow us at, though?
I hope I do this correct and tell everybody they can follow us at Sack City Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. You know the deal. Once you get on your spot, you find the Sack City Pod. You're going to hit that like. You're going to hit that share. You're going to hit those follows, those subscribes. And then you're going to tell somebody about everything that you watch Sack City Pod 5 days a week right here on YouTube. #GMSC. Good morning, Sack City Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And now we are even.
Let's ride.
Hey, sponsored by Manscaped. Let's ride. Listen, hey, come on, support. You guys got to do this. Support the Sack City Podcast. It's brought to you now by Manscaped. One of the best men's below the waist brand on the market. Precision, engineered tools for your family jewels. That's right, I did say jewels. Showing over 6 million men worldwide. Worldwide, Craig. Manscaped can get you this exclusive offer, 20% off, free worldwide shipping with the code SACCITY. And guys, I got a question. Have you ever had that like long hair in your nose? It's just kind of sticking out when you're on camera on the podcast. Well, guess what I did to remove that? I used the nose trimmer. That's right. The Weed Whacker nose trimmer is waterproof. It provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate nose holes. So make sure you go and get that. It's part of the Performance Package 4.0. And oh man, it's a game changer. So get 20% off, free shipping with the code SACCITY. That's 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com. Promo code SACCITY.
Protect your sack.
Protect your sack. Protect your sack.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
Hey, I will tell you, like, I love the sponsor because I am a user of the Manscaped product. As you guys know, I told you this before the sponsorship came. I used the Manscaped product far before this. It's amazing. It makes those things nice and smooth, man. Sometimes I just walk around town just hold. No, I don't. I don't do that. I don't do that. But I'm just saying, it'll make you want to have your hands in your pants a little bit more. Take care of your jewels and go and get you some Manscaped products. Promo code SACCITY.
He's Stan's dad from South Park walking around with a wheelbarrow of his balls, freshly shaved Manscaped balls walking around.
Yeah, they do require a wheelbarrow.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That does it, though, for another episode of the Sac City Podcast. We'll be back again tomorrow live at 10 a.m. Eastern Time covering episode 65. We'll discuss the teams, find out then. Until then, for my best friend Aaron Dukes and for this guy.
For your boy.
For your boy AJ Johnson. I am me. We will see you tomorrow.
Peace out.
Holla.
We know we were a much better team if we came up and represented ourselves.